Hello and welcome back to another video in the Complete Web Development series. In this series, I am taking you from complete beginner to a job-ready developer, or at least that's my goal. And if you're following along, let me know how you're doing so far in this series and what you're most excited about and what you're learning about. Go ahead and leave me a comment below. Without any further ado, let's jump right in. In this chapter, we are building an API using Node.js and Express. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch over to my screen here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new branch for us to work on. So right now you can see I am on the main branch, and this is the 5th video, so I'm going to do a get checkout -b, and I'm going to create a branch off of this main branch called v5. And then what I'm going to do is do a get push set upstream. And I'm going to do origin v5 to add this to my remote branch on GitHub so that you guys have access to everything we do in this video. So we're going to cover 2 topics in this video. The first one is going to be we're going to handle our request, and then we're going to do some middleware to do that. And the next thing that we're going to do is talk about CORS. So we're going to go ahead and handle our CORS as well in our app.js. So let's go ahead and first talk a little bit about the body parser. Now, what is the body parser? Well, right now, as it is, let's just look at, let's add a middleware here in the app.js. So I have the app.js open, and I'm just going to do app.use. And what we'll do here is we're just going to add an anonymous function here, and we're going to do request response next. Okay, and then what we're going to do is run that through function, and we're just going to console log request. Okay, so let's save that, and then we're going to go over here to our terminal, and well, mine was already running, so I'm going to kill that, and you can run it by doing npm start, and that will fire up the server, and it says it's listed on port 5000. So let's go now and let's make a post request instead of a get request to the contact endpoint. So if I make a post request here, click on body, go to raw, and then we're going to send a JSON. Let me move this down so we have room here. We're going to set this to JSON, and then what we're going to do is put a JSON object in here, and this will be let's just do key value pair here, and then we'll do another one, and I'll just say email, and this will be parhamcurtis@mailinator.com. Okay, so what should happen if I click send, we are going to get in our console, we got undefined. One thing we probably need to do here is run our next function to continue this on. Let me try that again. Now it says route not found. So let's figure out why the route's not found. We're posting to contact here. Oh, I know why. It's because we're doing next here, so it's bypassing. It's going through all of this. We don't actually need to do next. So let's see. Let me go to my controllers. You know what? Inside the controller here, let's go to the create method right here. And what we're going to do here is inside this return, let's just console log the request here. Okay. And then what we're going to do is just get rid of this middleware. This will become more handy because we're going to actually leave this here for a little while just so we can see this request come in. And then what we're going to do is let's try to send that again. Again, I got message not found. Why is that happening? Oh, this is contacts. There we go. Now it's running that method. But you can see that we have an undefined console log here. Actually, that's the request timeout. But at any rate, we don't really have access to our request. Not in the sense that we want to have it. We want to be able to use it very easily. And so in order to do that, what we're going to do is use some middleware. And the middleware we're going to use is called Body Parser. And it's going to allow us to take the incoming request and parse that data as JSON, and also get request variables and things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a package called Body Parser. So let's go ahead and install that. So go to a terminal, make sure you're in your root directory, and we're going to do npm install -- save, and then body -parser, like that. That will go ahead and install that. Once that's installed, it should restart my server, but after I install new packages, I like to go ahead and restart it manually just after new packages are installed, just because sometimes there's some issues there. Now if we do this, we're going to need to use this middleware now. So what we're going to do is go to our app.js, okay? So go to your app.js. And up here at the top, we're going to go ahead and use const body parser, and we're going to set that equal to require body -parser. All right. Once we've done that, now what we're going to do is underneath our log here, we're just going to use an app.use. So we're going to add some middleware, and we're going to do body parser .url encoded. And that's a method, okay? And then we're going to pass in an object, and we're going to pass in extended false for now. So that's just a setting, and you can look up body parser. You know what? It's deprecated, huh? Well, I'm going to leave that for now. I have to look up what's going on there. But then we're going to use body parser.json as well. We're not going to send any kind of parameters into that. But if I save that now, let's go ahead and we'll send this here. And you know what? Let's go to our context control. Let's make this work a little bit how we'd expect it to. So let's say we're going to post a contact here. I'm going to do fname Curtis, and we'll leave email, and I will do lname Parham. And we need another deal there. And then we'll hit send. And then what we're going to do is go into our create, in the context controller, go to create. And instead of returning this method, let's go ahead and create an object. So we'll say const object is equal to, and here what we're going to do is we're going to do fname, and that is going to be equal to, so we'll set that equal to something. And what it is going to be fname, we'll set that equal to request dot body, okay, dot fname. And we'll do the same thing for lname, request dot body dot lname. And let's do email, and we'll set that equal to request dot body dot email. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to pass that back here. We'll say object, and we'll pass object back. Actually, you know what? Let's do contact here. We'll call it contact. We'll save that, and we should get a response with this information back now. And we do. So now our middleware is working. So we have access to request.body now, because we have the body parser running, and it just parses the JSON And now I'm just returning this just so show us what we would do. Normally we would take this and add it to the database, but I'm just returning it in this response so that you guys can see the parsed data there. So let's see what happens. Let's go back to app.js, and I'm going to comment out these 2 lines here, and let's do another request here. So now you can see that the message says, hey, we cannot read fname of undefined. And that's because the request.body is not defined. The middleware itself, this library, is what sets that up. So it runs through, any sort of request runs through there. And this body.parser is what will go ahead and handle the URL encoded variables and also this JSON right here. So now inside, since this is middleware, then it happens here first, and then it's going to go into our use routes right here. So we're adding our route right here, and we get eventually into our controllers. And now inside of our controllers, we do have access to request.body. So if I just go ahead and hit that back, bring that back. Now you can see here we are able to console log that request.body, and we could do, we could do whatever. We can do request.body.email and just console log that. So I'm gonna get rid of that console log and just show you. I just wanted to show you that working. Now we're not going to really do anything with this yet, but I just wanted to finish setting up our middleware so that we can handle requests properly with like post request, put request, and even getting, if you noticed in our routes, let's go to those real quick. So inside of our routes, we have this ID. Well, we can get this ID using our middleware, right? And so I'll show you that a little bit later. But now what we need to do is we need to talk a little bit about CORS. So what is CORS? Well, CORS, C-O-R-S, is an acronym that stands for Cross-Origin Resource Sharing. Now, I just had to look at it over my other screen because I don't say that exact phrase very often, but it's Cross-Origin Resource Sharing. And what that is it's the ability for a browser to retrieve information from multiple or from other origins. And so it's kind of a security thing that's set up. So like I can't get resources from, and the browser is going to block any resources I try to load that's from another origin. And the reason that it does that is just to help with security and stop bad people from doing bad things, basically. And so basically what we are going to have to do, since this is an API, and by default, browsers and any sort of scripts that would try to run would fail if you're not on the same origin or not on the same server. So the idea of an API is for applications to interface, and so those are not by default going to be on the same server. So you can set headers up in your server to basically tell the browser or whatever script that's running, like, hey, go ahead and accept resources from a different origin. And now we can define those origins, and we can be very explicit about those origins, or we could even just open it up for everyone. So it's up to you what kind of API you're going to be using. So let's go ahead and show what that means. So it's going to be a very simple process. We're just going to need to be in the app.js, and that is it. So right here above our routes, we're going to add another comment here, and we're just going to do CORS, and we'll do our error handling for CORS here. All right, then what we're going to do is, because this is middleware, we're going to do app.use. All right, and then we will do our standard anonymous function here as a callback, and it's going to get the request, the response, and next. All right, so then what we can do is we can actually use the response, and we can set headers up. Okay, so the one header that we're going to want to do is we're going to do a response.header, and then what we're going to do is well, first of all, we are going to tell it that the access control allow origin. Okay, so this is a header we can send back. that's the name of the header. So the second parameter here is going to be the actual value of the header that we send back. Now we could set specific origins here, but in our case we're just going to use star. And what star means is it's like, hey, allow all. Allow this to transfer to all origins, okay? Allow traffic to be cross origin from all, okay? This is the least secure way to do this, but when you're using an API, you're gonna have other security, and so an API, if it's a public API, for sure this needs to be set to star, okay? If you're creating an API just for your front end to use, you may put, and it's gonna be on a different origin, you may put, you may want to go ahead and just list one domain there. All right, so then the other thing we're going to do is another response.header, and this is going to be access control allow dash headers. Okay, so then we can set some headers here that are allowed. So we're going to do origin, okay, comma x dash requested with content. These are headers that we're going to allow. Content type, accept, and authorization. Now you may have need to add additional ones, but for our case, this is going to be plenty, okay? We don't need to do anything else there. The other thing that we're going to do is, what happens is this is actually a two-step process. And so when a browser is going to reach out just to get some headers, just to like verify that the request can go through before it actually makes the request. And so what we can do is we can tell it what methods we're going to allow. For example, let's say our application, we don't want to allow any post request. Well, we could tell it that our allowed methods are get and delete or something like that, but we wouldn't include post. And if we did that and someone tried to make a post request, it's going to first make a call, and it's going to say, hey, do you guys allow post requests? And it's going to say nope. And then another one might come in and say, hey, do you allow get requests? And be like, yes, I do, come on in. And then it will actually do the request. So we're going to do, and we're going to say, hey, if the request method is equal to options. Now this options, oops, this needs to be all caps. This options is what the method is called. So the pre-launch, or when the script or whatever is going to run, it's going to run first this options. So it's going to come in as a header, and it's going to say, hey, what options are available? So then we're going to do response dot header. And we'll say access control allow methods. And this is going to allow us to set the methods that we accept. Okay, so in our case, we'll just say put post. These need commas between them. Put post patch delete get. Now in our case, I don't think we're actually going to use any put verbs, so we could just do post, patch, delete, and get. Because if we look at our routes here, currently, our routes only accept get, post, patch, and delete, and that's the case for all of them. So we actually don't have any puts. I personally don't like puts. I'd rather use a patch, but there are use cases for puts. So in my case, I'm going to leave it on here because you guys might want to use it. In my API, I'm just going to use these four here. So these are the verbs that are allowed, or methods that are allowed to make requests here, the types of requests. So then what we're going to do is we are actually going to return, response.status 200.json, and it's just, we'll just do an empty object there. And then after all this, we need to send this along, so we'll say next. Okay, so once this request comes into these headers, it's just going to move on, but it's going to send these headers back if the request method is options. Okay, so these headers are going to be set now in the response, not here, because this will just immediately send it back. But these response headers are going to be set, and so when we respond, we'll be able to see those headers. So let's go ahead and see what I'm talking about here. If I hit send now, we can actually go and look at our response. And if we look at headers here, we should be able to see this access control allow origin, and this is star, okay? And then we see our allow headers. So we allow origin, X requested with content type, accept, and authorization. Any other headers that would come, we would just block, okay? And then, well, we don't see the other one because, like I said, that happens before the actual request as far as the methods that are allowed. So let's try a method that I don't allow. Let's go now and remove this put, and let's actually change this to a put and hit send. We get a 404 here. Let's see, because our route isn't there. I was trying to see if we should. Well, maybe Postman's not doing it, but a browser would, and other things, I think. So not too worried about that. I was just going to try to show you an example, but I should have tested that ahead of time. My bad. I don't think we're going to be able to see that in Postman. And I don't think it makes sense that we would be able to see it. So I'm going to get rid of that put, and this is obviously a post. And if it's a post, it makes it to the method, the create method, and then we're just returning that there. So the significance of what we've done today is we have now allowed this on our local machine. This would have not been a problem, but now when we put this on a server, we can actually make a request now without it being rejected for cross origin policies. So CORS policies not being accepted would stop this API call from working in the real environment. Okay, now the other thing of significance is we did is we actually handle this here now. So let's look at one more thing here. I want to show you guys one more example of the body parser because I showed you the JSON, but I haven't shown you this now. So let's go into a different, let's look at our routes, and this get right here, let's use this find by ID. So if we go to find by ID, what I'd want to do here is let's console.log request.body. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do contacts, and then let's do 123 as an ID, and this is a get request. Now I'm going to hit this, and we should see let's see. 1 second. Just double check here. Oh, sorry. This is not body. We're actually going to do params here. Okay, because we're sending this ID. This is actually going to be a param because in our route, the way that this works is in our route we set this param name up right here, and so when this gets set, this is going to get set to ID. Now we could name that anything we want, and I'll show that in a moment. But let's go now to our context controller and go to find by ID, and let's just do something like this. Let's do just inside this response, let's do contact ID, and let's return request.params.id like that. So now if we do this, we're going to get back the contact ID, and you see that the contact ID is 123, and that is coming from this params. Okay, so it's the request params now .id. But if I inside of the route, I could just as easily have called this contact underscore ID or something like that, and then in the context controller I would have to do params contact underscore ID. We'll save that, and now if I send this back, you see we get the same value here. But if we look at our server here, we can see our params that are being printed is contact ID. So that is being set up through our route, and then our body parser is actually handling that URL encoded thing. So that's the other thing that body parser is doing for us, which is super awesome. So now you can see it just says ID 123. And let's just go back to our context controller and change this back to params.id, and we'll save that. So that is the two different body parsers, the URL encoded and the JSON. The URL encoded allows us to do the ID. It's in the params. This will also allow us to do things like get parameters and stuff like that. So for example, if I did something like this, we'll do page equals 23. We'll send that, and let's just look at context controller. And at this point, what we would do is let's do request.body. We'll save that. Now we'll go here. This is the body. I actually don't know how to get those get params. What are those? Well, let's look it up together. I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head because I have not done that. So let's go here and let's go to body parser, which is what we installed. Here we go. It's a Node.js body parsing middleware. And let's look up extended. All right. So this is what we did exactly. I want to find a URL get parameter. I may have to Node.js body parser get params. Oh, it's query. It's query. Yeah, that makes sense because those are query params. Duh. All right. Sometimes you have to solve problems together. All right, so now if I go back, we should be able to see that in the console log, and we do right here with page. So it would be request.page or request.query.page, and that would give us 23. So that is how we do that. Now we're not going to be using that in our project, which is why I didn't look that up or know that, but I just wanted to show you that it is possible to do that in our application. We're going to be using params a lot, and we're going to be using the body a lot. So that will come from the post body, which is right here. All right, guys. Well, I hope that makes sense. Sorry for me being a little scatterbrained today. I have been extremely tired, and I'm just not on my A game. And you guys shouldn't have to suffer for that. I apologize, but I'm just doing my best to push out a video every day and keep up with everything I got going on. But I appreciate you guys. I will see you guys in the next video. Hopefully I am more well rested at that time. Peace out.